For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had only convened for war, extinction, or a universe-altering discovery. Today, it was the third. The vast amphitheater was packed with beings of every conceivable form: silicon giants, luminous clouds, armored strategists, even beings of pure gravity. At the center, a hologram of a small blue planet glowed. Earth. The Council Arbiter, older than most stars, intoned, "Let the accused species speak. Humanity of Sol3, you are charged with violating fundamental law. No pre-FTL species may develop interdimensional weaponry. Explain yourselves." A small human woman stepped forward, wearing a simple dark suit. "We detonated it, but your assumption that we developed that weapon is wrong." The council fell silent. A massive insectoid general leaned forward. "Then, who built it for you?" "No one," Reyes said. "We built it ourselves." The chamber erupted. It was impossible. Humans were barely Tier 2, new to the galactic stage. They were creative, yes, volatile, even dangerous, but they lacked the theoretical understanding for such a device. The Arbiter commanded silence. "Then explain how a primitive species achieved what elder civilizations have failed to stabilize." Reyes tapped a control, shifting the hologram to Earth's timeline. "You've been looking at the wrong branches of our science," she explained. "We hunted for faster computing and nearly lost control to artificial intelligence multiple times. Images of nuclear tests, chaotic labs, and global crises flashed before the council. We survived by failing faster than we died." A crystalline being pulsed with disbelief. "Failure does not produce mastery." "No," Reyes agreed softly, "but survival does." "The device didn't just tear space," Reyes said. "It closed a spontaneous interdimensional rupture that would have consumed half your outer colonies within the decade." The council gasped. "That rupture, a classified, theoretical threat, denied by the highest authorities, was real. You detected it," the Arbiter whispered. "We almost lost Mumbai when a micro-rift opened in the Indian Ocean," Reyes replied. "So we reverse-engineered the failure and scaled it up." The general reeled back. "You weaponized a catastrophe before confirming its nature." "No," Reyes corrected. "We engineered a solution before you admitted the problem existed." Silence crushed the chamber. The stars were calm. Space was silent. But far beyond the reach of human understanding, a monumental decision was being made. Inside a colossal hall of light and shadow, thousands of alien leaders sat in a vast circle. This was the Galactic Council, the most powerful assembly of rulers in the universe. Before them, a small blue planet rotated on a giant screen. Earth. One of the leaders spoke, its voice cold and sharp. Humans expand too fast. A third voice, deep and heavy, rumbled through the hall. They may become a threat. A hush fell over the council. Then, the highest judge of the galaxy delivered the final order: send the summons to Earth. In that single moment, human history was changed forever. Cars moved through bustling streets, children went to school, and planes crisscrossed the skies. Humanity had only recently built its first fledgling colonies on the Moon and Mars. We thought we were alone in the vast, empty universe. We were wrong. Far above Earth's atmosphere, a silent energy wave swept through every satellite, every radar station, every defense system. No alarms sounded. Not yet. It was just quiet, methodical observation. Then, at exactly 3:17 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, it happened. Every major space agency on Earth received the same signal simultaneously. Moving, shifting, forming an intricate pattern, the translation machines began to work, and a cold sweat formed on the faces of the scientists. After hours of frantic work, one short sentence was decoded: "We are the Galactic Council." A chilling silence filled the control rooms. A second line appeared: "Your species has been observed." Then the final line arrived: "You have been summoned to answer." Within minutes, the message was encrypted and sent to the highest levels of government across the world. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and top scientists were rushed into secure rooms. The media knew nothing. The public was completely unaware. One man whispered what everyone was thinking: "This is first contact, and it doesn't sound friendly." As more of the transmission was decoded, the full message became terrifyingly clear. The Galactic Council stated, "Humanity has expanded beyond its assigned zone. Your technology grows without approval. Your colonization has crossed unseen borders." Then came the final chilling words: "Earth must explain itself. You have 72 hours. Failure to respond will result in judgment." There were no threats of violence, no weapons shown. While this was happening, the world outside slept peacefully. People went to work, children played in the streets, and families ate dinner together, completely oblivious to the cosmic clock that had just started ticking. Inside those secret rooms, however, panic was spreading like wildfire. Some leaders demanded a full military alert. Others wanted to surrender immediately. Scientists insisted that the alien technology was light years beyond anything on Earth. A general said quietly, "If they wanted us dead, we would already be dead." That single thought made the rooms feel even colder. Only one question filled every mind: why now? Humanity was small, weak, and hopelessly divided. So why would the undisputed rulers of the galaxy care about a tiny planet like Earth? A lone scientist finally spoke the horrifying truth. "Because humans don't stop," she said. "We survive plagues. We survive wars. We survive cataclysmic disasters. And we just keep moving forward." The room fell silent. For the first time, humanity realized something terrifying. We weren't being hunted for what we were. We were being watched for what we might become. Unidentified objects would appear on sensors for a moment, then vanish. Space was no longer empty. Something was out there, waiting, watching, judging. Earth's leaders didn't know whether to hope for peace or prepare for war. In a hidden military base, far underground, a small group of Earth's top commanders gathered in silence. On the wall, the alien message glowed softly. No one spoke a word. Then, an old general slowly stood up. He looked calm, too calm. The room watched him, holding its breath. He added, "But they do not yet understand who they are questioning." The screen behind him suddenly changed. A single red label appeared. Project Unknown activation possible. The general finished with one final line, his voice like steel. "Tell the world leaders, Earth will not beg." The lights in the room dimmed. The timer continued to count down. And somewhere in the cold darkness of deep space, the Galactic Council waited. The countdown had begun. 72 hours. Now, only 70 hours remained. Far above Earth, in the silent dark of space, unknown objects moved. No lights, no sound, just shadows passing in front of distant stars. Down on the ground, the world still looked calm, but behind closed doors, a silent panic was spreading across the globe. In underground bunkers and secret bases from Washington to Moscow, from Beijing to London, emergency lights flickered on. On every screen, the same strange alien symbol pulsed. World leaders sat in stunned silence. Military chiefs waited for orders they hoped would never come. And scientists stared at the data, rechecking calculations, praying for a mistake. Finally, one president broke the silence, his voice tight. "Are we sure this isn't some kind of elaborate hoax?" A scientist, looking exhausted, replied in a faint voice, "The signal originated from beyond our galaxy. Sir, no human technology could possibly fake that." The truth was heavy, undeniable. This was real. For 12 hours, they kept the secret. But secrets, especially ones this big, have a way of getting out. It started with a whisper online, from amateur astronomers who had detected a strange signal. Then came a leaked document, a single blurry page that changed everything. Within minutes, the words were everywhere, spreading faster than any virus. "Aliens have contacted Earth." The world fractured. Stock markets plummeted. People flooded stores, stripping shelves bare. In the streets, religious groups gathered, some praying for salvation, others protesting the unknown. The sky above looked the same, but the world beneath it had been altered forever. Fear became the new reality. Families locked their doors, parents holding their children close, whispering reassurances they didn't believe themselves. At night, people stared at the sky, caught between hoping to see nothing and fearing they might see something. Social media was a wildfire of rumors. "They're coming to invade. They want our resources. It's the end of the world." No one knew the truth. Only a handful of leaders knew about the 72-hour judgment, and the clock was ticking. Inside a global science summit, the brightest minds of humanity faced a single, terrifying fact. The alien technology was centuries, maybe millennia, ahead of our own. Our best radar could barely track their movements. Our most powerful weapons might not even scratch their ships. One physicist summarized the mood in the room. "If they decide to attack, we will lose. Not in days or hours. In minutes," another added, her voice heavy with defeat. "Our only hope is communication." This feeling of helplessness split the world's leaders. One side argued for surrender. "We are not ready for a war we cannot win," they urged. "We must show them we are peaceful, that we will obey." But another side roared back with defiance. "No alien will rule Earth," they declared. "We will not bow. We will fight, no matter the cost." Voices rose, fists hit tables. Fear was twisting into anger. But the same question hung over them all. What should our reply be? The alien message was displayed once more, its cold, digital words echoing in the silent chamber. "Humanity has expanded without approval. Your species grows too fast. You have crossed unseen borders." And then, the final, chilling demand. "Explain yourself." One leader whispered to himself, "Since when does the universe need borders?" No one laughed. Time was running out. Now, only 48 hours remained. As if on cue, deep space sensors screamed an alert. More movement. Something massive, a presence so large it defied understanding, was approaching the edge of our solar system. Still far, but getting closer with every tick of the clock. Quietly, Earth's defense systems powered up. Nuclear submarines slipped into the deep. Satellites shifted their orbits, but every commander knew it was a gesture, a brave but futile show against a power that might command galaxies. In the midst of the chaos, one man had remained silent. An old general, a veteran of Earth's own brutal wars. He had seen cities fall and nations turn to dust, but he did not look afraid. Finally, he stood. The room fell quiet. Every eye turned to him. "We are acting like prey," he said, his voice calm but sharp. A few leaders protested. "We are being threatened by gods from the stars." The general shook his head slowly. "No," he said, "they are not gods. They are watchers, and they are afraid of what we might become." He continued, his voice gaining strength. "We are weak. We are small. But there is one thing the galaxy does not understand about us." He looked around the room, meeting their eyes. "Humans do not give up." He requested access to a sealed project, a last resort plan, known only to a few. A nervous whisper went through the room. "Is it ready?" someone asked. The general's answer sent a chill down every spine. It was never meant to be used. Suddenly, a new alarm blared through the command center. An officer from the deep space radar post shouted, "Unknown fleet detected." A massive cluster of objects appeared on the main screen, too far to attack, but far too close to ignore. The first galactic observation fleet had arrived. They weren't firing. They were just watching, judging, waiting for Earth's answer. The room fell into absolute silence. The general turned back to the leaders. "They have shown their eyes," he said. "Now it is time we decide. Do we bow, or do we show them who we really are?" He pressed a small button on the table. A hidden screen lit up with a single ominous warning in red: "Project Unknown access requested." On the main display, the timer ticked down. 47 hours, 59 minutes, and 58 seconds. Humanity stood at the edge of a choice that would decide its fate forever. The galaxy thought it knew everything about Earth, its weapons, its ships, its limits. But there was one thing the galaxy never saw, because it was never meant to be seen. Deep beneath Earth's surface, something was waking up. Miles underground, under layers of solid rock and reinforced steel, a secret base came to life. Lights flickered on after decades of darkness. Old screens, once dormant, flashed with new power. Machines that had never been used began to hum and move. Only a handful of people on Earth even knew this place existed. An old general walked through the long, silent halls. Beside him were top scientists, high-ranking officers, and one nervous world leader. The leader asked in a low, hushed voice, "General, what exactly is this place?" The general replied calmly, his voice echoing slightly, "This is humanity's last shield." Long before aliens were discovered, humans feared one thing more than any war: extinction. So, in total silence, they built a project, not for attack, not for conquest, but only for survival. It was called Project Unknown. No flags, no nations, only Earth. It was designed to do one impossible task: hide the entire planet from the eyes of the universe. Decades ago, our scientists detected strange signals from deep space. They weren't messages, they were scans. Something was already out there, looking for life. That was when humanity made a difficult choice. If the powerful ever came to our doorstep, Earth must not look weak. Earth must not look afraid. Earth must simply disappear when needed. Back in the command center, the general raised his hand. "Begin activation." Across the room, key after key was turned in unison. A massive surge of energy pulsed through enormous underground cables. Satellites orbiting the globe silently shifted their positions. Old defense platforms, long forgotten, powered up. Hidden stations deep under the oceans came alive. No weapons fired, no explosions were heard. Only quiet, coordinated motion. Outside, the world continued to panic under the alien gaze. But deep below, Earth was preparing something no one in the galaxy could have expected. At the edge of our solar system, the Galactic Observation Fleet watched Earth closely. Their advanced sensors scanned the planet again and again. And then, something strange happened. Earth's energy signals began to fade. Their radar images started to blur. Our communication waves seemed to bend around the planet. Even our heat signature was weakening. On the bridge of their ship, alien officers spoke in confusion. "Earth's output is dropping," one reported. Another said, "They are hiding something." A third whispered, "No, they are hiding themselves." The fleet commander, now alarmed, ordered full power scans. The strongest sensors in the entire galaxy burned with energy, focusing all their might on our world. Still, Earth kept fading. We weren't gone, but we were no longer clear. It was like trying to look at a shadow hiding behind thick smoke. For the very first time, the alien fleet felt something they never expected to feel when observing us: pure uncertainty. Inside the human command room, however, the tension was rising again. Some leaders argued, "This will anger the Galactic Council." Others countered, "It may be the only thing that saves us." One leader looked directly at the general. "If we hide, they may think we are guilty of something." The general's voice was cold and calm as he replied, "They already judge us. We do not hide in fear, we hide to survive." A scientist then stepped forward. "Project Unknown cannot stop a full invasion," she stated, her voice heavy. "It can only delay it. For days, maybe weeks." A heavy silence fell upon the room. The general simply nodded. "Then those days will be enough." "Enough for what?" a leader asked, his voice trembling slightly. The general answered, "For the galaxy to learn something important about humans." Far away, in the great council chamber of the galaxy, alerts began to ring. Sensors across multiple star systems all showed the same anomaly. Earth's signature was changing in a way that should be impossible. The highest alien judge leaned forward on his throne. "Explain this," he commanded. An analyst replied, "The humans are masking their world." Another added, "This technology, it shouldn't be possible for a species at their level." The council chamber grew uneasy. A powerful member spoke, his voice grave. "Perhaps we have underestimated them." Back on Earth, the countdown continued. Only 36 hours remained. People across the world felt a strange shift in the air. GPS systems glitched, satellites reported minor errors, strange lights were seen in the night sky. No official explanation came. Fear grew quietly in the hearts of billions. In the control room, a young officer asked the general, "Sir, what if they attack now, before the project is complete?" The general answered without turning, "Then the galaxy will see what a cornered species looks like." Suddenly, alarms blared through the bunker. A scientist shouted, "New signal detected." The signal wasn't coming from the observation fleet. It came from far beyond it, deeper in space, and it was much, much stronger. A second fleet was on the move. These were not observers, they were warships. The data confirmed it. The strongest, most feared empire in the galaxy had begun to move toward us. The general closed his eyes for a single second. Then he spoke with a heavy calm. "So, the Watchers have called the warriors." He turned to the world leaders. "They came for answers. Now they may come for control." He faced the main screen, where Earth's image was slowly fading from all alien view, and gave his final order: "Prepare the message. Humanity will answer." In its own way, as the timer on the screen dropped to 35 hours, 59 minutes, and 12 seconds, the warships moved through the dark. They thought Earth was hiding in fear. They were wrong. Earth was hiding in silence, waiting for the storm to arrive. Deep in the cold void of space, a colossal alien war fleet advanced. Thousands of ships, arranged in a perfect, chilling formation, moved with cold, unstoppable purpose. These were not observers or diplomats. They were conquerors. Inside the flagship, an alien commander's voice dripped with disdain. "The humans have failed to answer with the proper respect." Another officer replied, its tone just as sharp. "Then they will learn obedience." With that, the entire fleet increased speed. A wave of destruction aimed directly at Earth. Back on Earth, the sky looked deceptively normal. But deep beneath the surface, in hidden command centers, alarms were screaming. Radar screens blazed with countless red signals, each one a harbinger of doom. Scientists shouted complex numbers and trajectories, their voices tight with urgency. Commanders stood like statues, their eyes fixed on the main display, where a countdown timer showed just 29 hours remaining. They were running out of time. In the central control room, political leaders were shaking. Some whispered, "They are coming with warships." Thousands of them. One panicked voice rose above the others. "We must surrender now. It's our only chance." But the old general, the man in charge of Earth's defense, did not move a muscle. He let the wave of fear wash over the room before he spoke a single, definitive word. "No." The room fell into a stunned silence. He let his gaze sweep across every face before continuing, his voice as unyielding as stone. "If we kneel today, we will never stand again." Far away, in a chamber of immense power, The Galactic Council watched everything unfold on vast, shimmering screens. They saw Earth, veiled under a cloaking field they called Project Unknown. One council member laughed softly, a sound like grinding rocks. They hide like frightened children. Another added, send the fleet closer. Let them feel the true weight of their helplessness. The highest judge, seated on a throne of polished obsidian, simply nodded. Advance the war fleet. This was their first mistake. Back on Earth, the general turned to his lead scientists. Shift to Phase 2. A scientist froze, his face pale. Sir, Phase 2 will reveal our location. Our true energy signature will be exposed for a brief moment. The general's reply was swift and certain. One moment is all we need. Across the globe, buttons were pressed. Deep under the crushing pressure of the oceans, deep beneath the scorching sands of vast deserts, hidden stations that had slept for centuries roared to life. For 3 seconds, just 3 seconds, Earth's true energy signature flashed across the galaxy like a bolt of lightning. Far out in space, the alien fleet was thrown into chaos. Sensors exploded with data, their systems overloaded. Energy levels spiked far beyond anything they had ever predicted or measured. One officer screamed, "This output is impossible for a species at their level." Another shouted in disbelief, "They are not hiding anymore. They're broadcasting." The fleet commander, his composure finally cracking, barked, "What did they just reveal?" For the first time in its long history of conquest, the war fleet hesitated. Inside Earth's primary command base, a scientist spoke rapidly, trying to process the readings. That energy spike, it wasn't just a signal. He looked at the general. It came from inside the planet itself. A leader in the room whispered, "They turned their whole planet into a shield." The general said quietly, a grim smile touching his lips, "They turned it into a message." Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the arrogant calm had evaporated. Data flooded every screen. Blaring red warnings flashed across the chamber. One council member slammed his fist on the floor in a fit of rage. "This is not primitive technology." Another shouted, her voice laced with panic, "They just demonstrated a planetary-scale defense system." "How?" The highest judge stood up slowly. His voice, once so full of pride, was now a low, strained whisper. "We may have misjudged them, but it was already too late." The alien war fleet, once a confident spearhead, was now reducing its speed. They had expected to be met with fear. Instead, they were met with profound uncertainty. Commanders began to argue over their secure channels. If they can do this with their planet, what else can they do? Are we walking into a trap? Was this the plan all along? For the first time in galactic history, a single human world had made an entire war fleet doubt its own strength. The countdown continued. 18 hours left. Earth had still not sent its official reply. The galaxy was tense. Every signal was watched. Every movement was judged. The council waited. The war fleet waited. The entire universe waited. The general looked at the main screen as Earth's energy signature slowly faded, returning the planet to complete invisibility. He turned to a young communications officer. His voice was calm, measured. "Prepare the transmission." The officer swallowed hard. "To whom, sir?" the general answered, his words echoing in the silent room. "To the entire galaxy." The communication system powered up, bathing the room in a pulsating blue light. The message buffer opened, a blank slate waiting for the words that would change history. The general placed his hand on the console, and he said the words that would shake the galaxy to its core. "Send them our answer." The screen flashed a single line. "Transmission ready." The timer hit 17 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. Earth's reply was seconds away, and the Galactic Council had no idea that their greatest mistake was about to be exposed for all to see. For millennia, the galaxy thought Earth was alone, a tiny blue marble, isolated and insignificant. The galaxy was wrong. Very, very wrong. Deep space suddenly erupted, not with an invasion, but with arrivals. Small ships, many scarred and damaged. Old vessels, some barely holding together. They materialized near Earth, one by one, then in dozens, then hundreds, falling into a protective formation. These were the silent species, the forgotten races, the ones deemed too weak or too afraid to matter. Now, they stood with humanity. In the opulent chamber of the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. Impossible. One council member shouted, "They are disobeying a direct order. This has never happened before." The High Judge, the most powerful being in the known galaxy, stared at the holographic display, his voice trembling slightly. These worlds, they were under our rule. Why would they side with the humans? A junior officer, standing stiffly in the corner, answered in a hushed tone, "Because, sir, the humans stood for them first." At the edge of the solar system, the mighty war fleet, poised to deliver the Council's judgment, slowed its advance. The mission had changed. This was no longer a simple punitive strike against a disobedient world. This was now a line of resistance. Whispers spread through the command decks of the warships. This is not a punishment anymore. This is becoming a war. A war that others are willing to join. On Earth, mission control buzzed with confusion, then dawning realization. Screens filled with new signals, friendly identifiers from unknown sources. They were not hostile. A young comms officer gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "They are with us." The old general, who had carried the weight of his world's survival on his shoulders, closed his eyes for a single, heavy moment. When he opened them, he whispered to no one in particular, "So we truly are not alone." A message came through from the newly formed Allied fleet. The language was broken, the words simple, but the meaning was clear as a star. We were judged too. We were called weak. We were forced to obey. There was a pause, a moment of shared history hanging in the void. "You said you would not kneel. So today, we stand." The High Judge slammed his staff of office, the sound echoing in the now tense chamber, ordered the war fleet to fire. But his voice lacked its usual authority. Half the council members were silent, their faces etched with fear. An old wizened elder spoke the truth that now hung over them all. "If we attack now, we will not be fighting Earth, we will be fighting an idea." The war fleet waited, weapons locked, shields burning with raw energy, ready to unleash devastation. The High Judge raised his hand to give the final signal, and then, slowly, he lowered it. His voice, heavy with defeat, crackled across the comms. "Stand down." A wave of shock swept through the fleet. Retreat orders, something unheard of in the Council's long history, echoed through space. For the first time, the Galactic Council backed down. One by one, the warships turned and vanished into hyperspace, leaving the solar system behind. The human ships did not pursue. The Allied fleets remained, a silent, watchful testament. Across the galaxy, a new truth began to spread. Humanity could not be ruled by fear. On Earth, there were no cheers, no grand celebrations, just deep, shaking breaths of relief. Families held each other close. Soldiers slowly removed their helmets. Scientists slumped into their chairs, exhausted but safe. The world was safe. For now, the old general stood, looking out at the stars, now filled with friends. He spoke softly. "Today, we were not the strongest, we were not the most advanced, but we were the most unwilling to kneel." He paused, and the galaxy noticed. The Council never returned, but the Allied ships stayed in orbit for days, a silent promise. Humanity was no longer a hidden world. Humanity was now a voice in the cosmos. A final short message was broadcast from Earth, for all to hear. "We seek no throne, we seek no empire, but if freedom is ever threatened, we will stand again." They had demanded answers. Earth answered with courage, and the galaxy was changed forever. The galaxy was listening. The Council was watching. The war fleet was ready, and Earth finally spoke. Across the vast emptiness of deep space, a signal exploded outward. It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't an attack, it was a voice. On every alien warship, activity froze. On every Council screen, the view turned to pure white. The Galactic Council chamber, usually filled with the murmur of 1,000 worlds, went utterly silent. Then, the human message began. A single human voice, calm, cold, and clear, resonated through every speaker. "We are humanity. We were born on one small world. We crawled from dust and taught ourselves to stand." The Council listened in absolute silence, their many eyes fixed on the blank screens. This was not the plea of a primitive species they had expected. The voice continued, its tone steady and measured. "We are not the strongest. We are not the oldest. We are not the smartest in the galaxy. But we are one thing." A deliberate pause hung in the air, stretching for an eternity. "We are persistent. You watched us fight our own wars. You watched us survive devastating plagues. You watched our greatest cities burn to the ground, and still rise again from the ashes. We did not expand into our solar system because of greed. We expanded because we refused to die quietly in the dark. On the dais, the alien leaders exchanged uneasy looks. This wasn't the sound of fear. It wasn't the desperate begging of a cornered animal. This was the sound of unshakable confidence. The human voice grew firmer, its edge sharpening. You call our growth a crime. You call our survival a threat. We call it our nature. Then, the voice delivered the words that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. We did not ask for your permission to be born. The entire chamber tensed, a collective intake of breath from 100 different species, and we will not ask for your permission to exist. On the bridges of the mighty warships poised to strike Earth, officers froze at their stations. Commanders leaned in, whispering in shock to their aides. This is not the voice of a weak species, one muttered. This is the voice of a challenger. The fleet, which had been advancing steadily, began to slow. For the first time in this entire operation, they were not sure who the real prey was. The human voice spoke one last time, its message, a declaration of identity. We come in peace, but we are built for war. We offer no threats, but we promise one truth. Another slow, heavy pause filled the void. If you attack Earth, you will not face a planet. You will face a species. Then came the final chilling words that echoed across the galaxy. We asked for nothing, but we will defend everything. The transmission ended. Silence. A profound, deafening silence followed. There were no explosions, no counter-threats, only pure, unadulterated shock. In the council chamber, no one spoke, no one moved. Some leaders looked afraid, some looked furious, but most of all, they looked uncertain. The High Judge, a being of immense age and power, slowly rose to his full height. His proud, booming voice was now low, almost a whisper. This is not a primitive world. This is a rising power. A voice crackled through the chamber's private comms, the fleet commander seeking direction. Council, the fleet awaits your command. Attack or retreat. The entire galaxy held its breath, waiting for the answer. The High Judge raised his hand. On the warships, weapon systems began to power up to full capacity. And at that exact same moment, Earth's planetary defense grid flared to life, a shield of light encasing the world. Two powers, one moment, one universe-altering decision. What will the Council choose? Attack or back down? The galaxy expected fear. It received defiance. And now, the galaxy was shaking. After Earth's defiant message, there was only silence. The transmission ended. No sound, no movement. Across thousands of alien worlds, millions of leaders stared at their screens, their minds reeling. They had never heard anything like it before. A small, insignificant planet, speaking with the voice of a giant. Inside the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the air was thick with disbelief. The assembly was frozen. No one spoke. No one dared to even shift in their seats. The expressions on the diverse alien faces told 1,000 different stories. Some showed raw fear, their appendages trembling. Others burned with anger, their pride wounded. Many just looked on in sheer, utter disbelief. The strategist's logic was chilling. The highest judge had heard enough. He raised his staff of office, its tip glowing with authority. "Prepare for the final decision," he boomed. Every council member activated their personal voting light. Red for war, blue for delay. The lights began to appear, speckling the grand chamber in a tense mosaic of color. Red, blue, red, blue. The room hummed with a palpable tension. But just before the final, deciding light could be cast, a sudden, piercing alert blared across the entire council chamber. A shocked alien communications officer, his eyes wide with disbelief, shouted, "Unknown fleets detected. They are not from Earth. They are moving toward Earth's side." The council froze in a collective state of confusion and shock. The judge, furious, shouted, "Who dares move without our order?" The officer answered, his voice trembling with fear. "They are the smaller alien nations, the subjugated ones. They are joining humanity." On the main view screen, the image shifted. New ships, dozens at first, then hundreds, appeared from hyperspace, their hulls a patchwork of different species and technologies, all rushing to form a defensive line with Earth. The galaxy gasped. The small world was no longer alone. The war was supposed to be over. The Galactic Council had backed down. Their fleets retreated, and a heavy, deep silence fell over the galaxy. But silence is never truly empty. 2 weeks passed since the standoff. 2 weeks without alien attacks, without messages from the Council, without the looming threat of war fleets hanging over our heads. Life on Earth was slowly, cautiously, returning to normal. People went back to their jobs, kids went back to school, and the news channels, ever optimistic, started calling it the miracle of survival. But they were wrong. Deep in the cold, dark void of space, beyond the reach of our immediate senses, something else was watching. It happened late one night. A blip on the screen. Earth's deep space radar array, our farthest reaching eyes, picked up a signal. It wasn't from the Council. It wasn't from any of our allied fleets. It was coming from a place far beyond known space, a region of the galaxy we'd always assumed was empty. The signal was faint, fragmented, like a whisper carried on the solar wind. And it was old. One of the lead scientists, her face pale in the glow of the monitor, leaned in and whispered, "This signal, it's not modern. The technology is ancient." They called the old general back to the command room. He had earned his retirement, but peace, it seemed, was a luxury no one could afford. He stood before the data stream, studying the signal in absolute silence. The seconds ticked by, stretching into long, agonizing minutes. The air grew thick with tension. Finally, his face hardened, his jaw set like stone. A political leader, unable to bear the quiet any longer, asked, "General, is it hostile?" The general didn't look away from the screen. He replied slowly, each word landing like a hammer blow. "It is older than the Council." The room froze. Older than the Galactic Empire that had nearly wiped us out. What could possibly be older? The decoding process took days, but when the message was finally pieced together, it offered no answers, only a single, chilling warning. "The Watchers have noticed you." A frantic scientist shouted what everyone was thinking. Who were the Watchers? The data, sparse as it was, painted a terrifying picture. They are not rulers. They are not empires. They are the ones who exist before empires. The primordial forces that observe the rise and fall of civilizations like ours, the way we might watch ants building a hill. And then, for the first time in history, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. Not an order, not a threat. It was a plea, laced with a fear we had never heard from them before. "You have drawn the attention of something far older than us," it read, "something we cannot control. Be silent, disappear, pray they lose interest." Panic, cold and sharp, ripped across Earth once more. The sirens that had just fallen silent began to wail again. Military forces scrambled, satellites swiveled, their lenses toward the outer dark, and people all over the world looked to the sky. Their brief moment of hope shattered. A single, desperate question echoed in every home, on every street corner. "If even the Council is afraid, what chance do we have?" The general stood before the world's leaders, his expression grim. "We survived the Council because we stood together, because we refused to break," he said, his voice resonating with authority. "But what is coming next will test more than our weapons. It will test our will to exist." As he finished speaking, every screen on Earth, every phone, every television, every digital billboard, went black. a moment of total darkness, and then a single, twisted symbol burned into view. It was not alien. It was not human. It was something utterly other, something ancient and wrong. A voice, genderless and all-encompassing, filled every speaker, every earbud, every room at once. The signal cut. The screens went dark. In the suffocating silence of the command room, no one could speak. No one could breathe. The general, his face a mask of dawning horror, whispered to himself, "So, the real gods of this universe have finally noticed humanity." On the main monitor, one last line of text flashed before disappearing. Unknown entity detected. Origin. Outside the galaxy. The war with the Council was only the beginning. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see what happens next, make sure to subscribe.